Alright, please let me know in the comments below if I'm tripping, but did anybody else watch this movie and just go, dude, I'm literally watching Twilight. I mean, from the outcast boy and girl to these two trying to find their way into the world, and from the 30 plus entries for the Best Kiss nomination at the MTV Movie Awards that this movie tried to submit throughout the entire film. I mean, look, I couldn't help but say, like, dude, I'm watching a remake of Twilight here. This is literally 2022's Twilight. I guess it's true that Hollywood truly can't make original films anymore, but they decided to call this one Bones and All. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and look, this is my review for Bones and All, starring Timothée Chalamet, Taylor Russell, Mark Rylance, and was directed by Luca G. I don't know his last name, I do apologize. He directed Call Me By Your Name. I do not know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to call him Luca G. And look, our plot follows Taylor Russell as this eater slash vampire. You can put her under any category, but there is pivotal differences between eaters and vampires. They call them eaters in this film here, and basically she's just on the run after a pivotal accident that happened, to one of her friends. She, kind of bit her finger off, and she tried to eat her. She tried to eat her friend, and now she's on the run, basically trying to figure out what she is, figure out her past and things like that. She runs into Timothée Chalamet, and these two basically start a whole love story together, traveling the country, trying to figure out their pivotal differences in their past and figure out how they can move on from those and live a future. And while that plot, I actually described that plot a lot better than I thought it would. It was actually it is a very intriguing plot, but look, Here, I'm gonna split this review up into two halves, like I normally do. I try to describe the good and the bad, but basically I'm gonna split it up the way this movie did, because the first half of this movie I was completely sold on. The concept was amazing. I was very into the love story that they had going on here. Mark Rylance's character, who's kind of the antagonist in the film, he is the antagonist in the film. He was absolutely incredible as far as like being shown in the first part of the film. Anything that like has to do with like the first 60% of this film is incredible. I thought it was very good. Timothée Chalamet is a great actor. That doesn't even need to be said anymore at this point. Like, that dude always gives a good performance. He did a good performance in this one. Taylor Russell I thought was very good as well. That girl is 28 and she still got the body of like a 17-year-old or the face of I'm not sure if that's just good makeup or things like and CGI effects, but these kids look crazy young in this movie. Also, Chalamet needs to he needs to eat more. That boy looks criminally skinny. He looks very unhealthy at this point. Like, I get you got a six-pack, brother, but that's from starving. That's a six-pack from starvation. That ain't no Channing Tatum abs. You're just starving at that, but you're starving yourself. I don't know what's going on there. But look, anything dealing with the first 60% of this movie, the first half, very good. I say 60% because I'm not necessarily sure like what part this was at, but like essentially once we get to a point where Taylor Russell meets her mom and she's finding out about her past, that is where the movie, that's like the last part of the movie that actually, still had me interested in what was going on. After we leave that scene, like from where she meets her mom, this movie goes all downhill from there. Like I said, this movie is basically trying to nominate itself or be nominated for every MTV Movie Award in the book. Like I said, this just becomes a complete mockery of like a Teen Choice Award film. I don't know what the heck the last 40% of this movie is, but as far as the first 60% of it, it's incredible. Like I said, Mark Rylance, I thought he was a very good antagonist. I thought he was honestly wasted towards the ends of the film. Here's the thing. The film kind of has to focus. It's a love story at the core of this movie, and that's okay. I'm down for that because, like I said, the first 60% of this movie, I'm into their love story. Like, you believe their romance, you believe everything that's going on, but then this thing just decides to go in a whole nother direction in the sense of, I honestly don't think they knew how to end this film. First of all, this movie's like 2 hours and like 15 minutes. I don't know why we feel like towards the end of, the end of the year, we got to release all these 2 hours and whatever else movies and feel like that just needs to be the standard runtime for all these films. All these movies don't need to be 2 hours and 15 minutes plus. This movie could have been 2 hours flat. Like, it maybe not even that. It didn't need to be as long as it did because, like I said, I felt like towards the end of this movie, it just lost its sense of direction. They didn't really know how to end the film. Like I said, Mark Rylance, when he is first introduced in this film, and he is, like, this first part of the film that he's in, incredible. He stole the show. He was a great antagonist, and I thought he was going to make for a very compelling character throughout the film. But throughout the film, I felt like he kind of became like a side piece and kind of got forgotten after some points because, like, I felt like in the final showdown between, you know, Taylor Russell, Chalamet, and Mark Rylance, I feel like they kind of just had to put that in there because it was like, oh my god, we almost forgot that this guy's in the movie. Like I said, the last 40% of this movie kind of just goes in the direction where I felt like they had no direction. They didn't know how to end this film. They didn't really know what to do. So they just started doing a bunch of Twilight shit. And no, not Twilight New Moon or Eclipse, where, you know, it's actually pretty much experimental fun, in my opinion. Look, I like New Moon and Eclipse. I think those are very good. I'm talking about the first Twilight. The memeable, just mockery of just complete bullshit. That's what the last 40% of this movie is. Just, it's what the first Twilight film was. Just a bunch of slow-mo, non-stop MTV Best Kiss nominations. Like, dude, I'm watching these kids slobbering all over each other. Granted, like I said, the movie has a great concept, and the whole thing between like eaters and vampires, I thought the differences between those two were very significant, and it was actually very interesting as well. Like, I just felt like the film kind of focused on the wrong things instead of like I said, at the core of this film, it's a love story, but after a while, it's like, you know, we have to deal with their past, and then we still have this guy who's the antagonist, and then we're also we met one other pair of eaters, and, you know, I'm not going to explain what their dynamic in the film is, but we meet them, and I feel like we could have gone in more interesting territory instead of just, you know, sticking with this love story throughout the movie. And honestly, another thing that pissed me off is how long it takes for these people to explain the most simple things. Like, I can't necessarily give spoilers, but it's like something that happens in Chalamet's past. Towards the end of the film, it takes them like 5 minutes to explain something that I'm literally shouting at the screen. Like, you already know. Like, his sister already explained what happened, and you can piece it together. But they decide to take a whole nother chunk of a scene and just take like 5 minutes for him to slowly explain what the audience already knows. I don't understand the point. Like I said, they're just dragging it out at this point. They didn't really know how to end this thing. They didn't really know where to go with it. That's my issues with the film. Granted, if I'm making it seem like I didn't enjoy this film, that's not true at all. Like I said, the first 60% of this film, I was on board for. I was into it. I was intrigued. The last 40% took me out of it. Once we get out of you know, whatever scene her and her mom are in, I know what the scene is. I just can't necessarily go into details about it. But once we get out of the scene with, you know, Taylor Russell meeting her mom, that's when this film just really just goes all over the place and just has no direction whatsoever. And honestly, it's painfully obvious to see that this film just has no direction. And like I said, at the end of this, I'm just watching a big Teen Choice Awards movie at this point. Like, I'm watching these two just try to get nominated for any type of Teen Choice Award or MTV Movie Award for the most part. Like, that's what the last 40% of this movie is. Just a big MTV Movie Award sponsorship or a big MTV Movie Award commercial. Or it's trying to get itself nominated for every MTV Movie Award in the book. And this ain't 2012. MTV Movie Awards do not matter anymore, man. I don't know why they were so dedicated to doing that. But look, overall, this is it's not a compelling love story to a sense. Like, if I'm going to be real with you, Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart did it way better than these two. Like, Timothy Chalamet and Taylor Russell are good in the film, but it's a carbon copy of a Twilight movie, and it's just painfully obvious at that point. I really can't, like, it's really hard to see after a while. Like, it's just obvious. It's just too obvious that they really tried to copy too much Twilight at this point. And for all those reasons and so many more, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give Bones and All a 3 out of 5 stars. Look, see, I told you guys, I didn't hate the film. Like I said, a 3 out of 5, it ain't that bad. Chalamet and Russell's performance, and Mark Rylance. Chalamet, Mark Rylance, and Taylor Russell's performances are incredible, and they're enough for me to give this movie a 3 out of 5. The movie just really did. In my opinion, it kind of wasted Mark Rylance towards the end. Like, I feel like the film completely forgot about him and just had to keep putting him back in there because they kept forgetting that he's a part of the film. He could have been a more pivotal part of the film. I felt like it would have been a more intriguing story if we would have kept him more of a focal point of the antagonism, but it is what it is. This is the movie we get. That's my rating, a 3 out of 5. Have you seen Bones and All, guys? Though, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe. Look, thank you so much for watching, guys. This is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.